I hope you caught some of that because I know I was speaking at pace.
Let me join you here on the hot seat with Garfield. Okay, bye Garfield. Thank you so much for this. So as I said in the beginning, coming from advertising and then moving on to the conference world, and also looking into what Singularity is doing, because we mentioned in the beginning, looking at the exponential versus the linear organization. I feel like you're the lifeline for the linear organizations to stay relevant, because it seems to be that they're not understanding so much of what they're supposed to do to stay relevant, and you're making sure they do.
I think both. I mean, you know, I'm always amazed at, you know, the example I talked about game developers. Like, I was talking to a friend. He's a VP of marketing at Activision Blizzard, which is one of the, you know, the world's largest video game company. They just got acquired by Microsoft for like 84 billion. And I was asking him, you know, what's happening, what's new, and he said, like, you know, Alex, the truth is, video gaming is such a traditional organization. Nothing's really changing. I was like, what? You know, and for him, that's just such an obvious thought. Like, video gaming is a really traditional industry, and nothing really is changing. But to anyone that's not in video gaming, who's looking at, you know, like Microsoft buying a very, that's an absurd idea. Surely they are an exponential organization that's taking every opportunity to change. And so I suppose what I mean by that is, I don't know if this sort of cultural lens is defined by linear or exponential organizations. I think that all organizations have the potential to change.
And also, it's often mistaken. Organizations that grow exponentially are not necessarily exponential organizations. But that's a different conversation. Coming back to this conversation, my partner is a TikTok influencer. She has 75,000 followers, and she lives in this TikTok world. And I feel like a lot of what people are asking for, which is not seen in the traditional world of communications, is actually this on display on TikTok, right? It feels like it seems to be an indicator of what kind of diversity are we waiting for? What are the things that we want to see? And you see them on TikTok. And I wonder, how much does this affect your work? How much do you see what's happening on TikTok also as an inspiration and impact on what is supposed to be seen, what's supposed to be done? Or is it more of, it's so obvious, why we're not having this, why we're not doing this?
I think that, you know, TikTok is interesting. I mean, I got a phone call from somebody a few months ago that said to me, hey, we need to have a chat with Google, YouTube, want to chat because TikTok. And I thought, oh, what's going on? This is about 6 months ago. This is before the announcement that TikTok surpassed YouTube as the leading platform. And I didn't really understand what the thing was. I was like, well, what's going on? Well, you know, like younger people and YouTube and they're losing share. And I was like, really? YouTube's losing share? Who to? What's a TikTok? And I was like, oh, really? That's really interesting to me. I just sort of thought some of there's such different things. One feels so active and live. One feels so, you know, archival. And it just sort of goes into the sort of behaviors of a generation, you know, and the types of behaviors they want. You know, YouTube was really focused around, you know, sort of more of a sort of where you find your intel, you know, as a young person, how to do this, how to be that, you know, who to be that. TikTok's more like, what are you doing today? You know, similar to the comparison with Instagram. Instagram's just like, look at me. And TikTok's like, look at what I'm doing. You know, so I think that's, you know, who knows where TikTok will go, but it certainly progresses the sort of the way people show up in culture.
I mean, they have reached the internet population. There are basically everything you can have, from cook show and lawyers' advice to entertainment, the whole spectrum. Paul.
Hello. Thanks, Alex. That was great. A question I have, I completely see where you're coming from, and I think it's a really interesting take. How much of the question I have, I guess, is how much of the situation with diversity in let's say advertising specifically isn't so much about people believing in it, but people not being able to overcome their unconscious bias? So the same way my dad did, he had the internet, he still used his fax machine. Are we not in a similar place where people know that they need it? They just they just can't get over their unconscious biases in the situation to perpetuate it. So they say, yes, we want diversity, and they agree with you, and they'll listen to this and be like, yes, but they won't be able to implement it for other reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's totally that. I mean, I think that's always the foundational human factor. But I think that this sort of idea, and it is just an idea, right? It's like sort of like building out a presentation around a sort of thought versus a fact, is sort of try and make those parallels to make it a bit more sort of digestible, right? So, you know, I find that the best way to look at it is like like the geeks have no place in this business until the geeks run the world, right? And I think that, you know, we've seen that happen over the last 20 years. Like the geeks are awkward, sort of like slightly autistic in the corner. You know, do we want to bring those into, you know, put them in the side room type of thing? Like, don't want to see them, don't want to hear them, just want to see the benefits of it. And then you sort of you move forward, and so the bias is like the geeks are geeks, and so that's not a positive thing. And then, you know, again, 2022, you know, I don't know what Elon Musk's up to today, but whatever he's up to with his crazy tweets in the last 24 hours, he's certainly running the world. And so I think that unconscious bias plays a big role in it, but I think unconscious bias is something that can be applied across not just racial, ethnic, sexual, but also other parts of our lives that where we decide who and who is not going to be able to help grow businesses.
I have a question, because when I was actually, basically it starts when you organize TED events, but it's also the same, like here, look at the room, it's mainly white men. I'm curious on your take on like, what's the piece of advice for those who curate content? Because it's kind of, I think it's kind of a job also to make it attractive for women to speak in front of men, for black men to speak in front of white men, to go on the stage beside, like, I have my day job, I have things to do, I don't need to speak in front of people. It's always easier to find men speak in front of people than it is to find women speak in front of people. So you have to make it attractive for women to speak in front of people. My sister is running Sheconomy, which is an Austrian magazine for female leaders, and she started the Facebook group Female Role Models, and it exploded by its own, because there are so many women. It's like, hey, here's my role model, but you have to build a stage for this, so you have to make it attractive for others to also join.
It is, in the end, it is harder to curate for a wider net. You know, like, it's harder for businesses and it's harder for events. My wife curates events in Amsterdam. She does TED here. She does several other corporate events, and she, you know, she's like, if I blink, it's an all white male panel. And so I have to, like, every day it's work, you know, and it's not a criticism. It's just there's a mainstream and there's a substream, right? And she's just trying to get some of the substream up on the stage. And of course, they don't come with the same credentials. And people don't know who they are or where they are. Or they may not describe themselves in ways that are easy to sort of digest what value they bring, because they use unorthodox language, they use the same hashtags, whatever, you know. But she finds it doubly as hard to do that, but obviously doubly as beneficial to achieve it. So I think it is harder work. But again, that's, you know, you talk about exponential, that's how it works, right? Like, it's always bubbling until it goes big.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I'll agree with her. It feels like I have to ask a woman to speak. I have to ask her 10 times, men to speak. Just like this.
Totally. We're all comfortable in our certain spaces.
Wait, we have 3 more minutes, and Marcus is raising the hand. So let's squeeze Marcus in here quickly. Let me just add him here.
Feel all squeezed. Alex, it's really interesting. I'm UK based, and whenever I try to host conferences and put conferences together, including a lot of diversity, one of the things which when I say including diversity, well, you see what a stupid, shitty thing to say, including diversity.
It's reality, right? It's
No, I know, it's because you've used the bloody word. I don't see this. Honestly, I don't see. I am colorblind when it comes to that, you know. But what I'm not blind on is accent blind. I'm not accent blind. So I'm talking to you, and if we were speaking without images, I would have no idea if you're white, black, big, small, or anything. It doesn't matter. What
I'm
I hear is
people are always surprised by that.
I hear an intellect. Sometimes when I hear people, the way they speak, and now maybe it's because of our fixation over fucking accents, where the way they speak starts setting up a whole load of back. And when I introduce them to other people, a whole load of preconceptions come in, which gets in the way. It's pathetic. I don't know if I'm unique in that, but that's the big difficulty I find in getting, you know, black women onto the stage. If they speak like you speak, no problem. You know, if they use their own, I want to call it subdialect, that's when the problem arises. I don't know if that's unique to me. I don't know if that's the same in just because it's English speaking. We have this fixation over accents.
I think it's
come across that at all?
I mean, we all come across this. I mean, I live in Amsterdam, so one of the things I got as a sort of euphoric, unexpected benefit of moving here sort of 14 years ago was that in the UK, I was always the minority in it, and it was sort of fine, and to get on with the job. But I realized at some point that, you know, the only way for me to get ahead was to sort of join the golf team and do things I hadn't done before, and which have been fine. It's just that I wasn't sure how far I'd have to stretch myself to sort of fit in. And when I came to, and I was always asked the question, where are you from? And so I sort of thought, well, obviously, you know, I'm from Brighton, but that's not enough. When I moved to the Netherlands, I was faced with, no one asked me where I'm from. They just listened to my accent. Oh, you must be from the UK. But so it's more about what you're doing, because everyone's come here, mostly expats, to sort of pursue a career or a new life. And so that was so liberating. And so ideas that you're talking about there, you know, of course, they perpetuate in local cultures, because it's just everyone's trying to fit. You know, I remember I went to Mauritius just before the pandemic, and there was a really friendly guy bouncing around in the pool on my first day, and it was a really nice hotel. And we bumped up to and he was like a British Asian guy, and you know, obviously everyone in this place is wealthy, so that wasn't really a thing. But the first thing he said was, "Oh yes, you know, your accent. Which school did you go to?" Now, the truth is, I went to, you know, just a normal school in Brighton, the closest school to my house. It wasn't private or public, whatever you call it. But that was for him just like prerequisite. And so he was a British Asian guy. He worked in banking, I think. And so I don't think it's to a question. Of course, there is a mainstream. It's a white male mainstream when it comes to things like events or business. But I think we all have our prejudice of accents and cultures and assumptions. And he was really pleased with the way I spoke, because he figured that was obviously meant that we were both a certain type of person and we went to a certain type of school. But, you know, it turned out not to be the case. So I don't know. I think that people just have to sort of get used to different people showing up in different places and being able to deliver much value as anyone else.
And it needs people like you to push the envelope and to create this attention and awareness that also brands and companies have to really work on that. It doesn't come by itself. You really have to push and force it and remember. And it's more than massaging, neck massaging.
I mean, Marcus, you got to remember, like, you know, before rock and roll, Western music was a bit dry. And then, you know, where did rock and roll come from? You know, like when those guys are asking, well, what's that voice doing on the stage? It's like, well, that voice is adding something different, and we need something different.
Yeah,
on stage.
Alex, I'm also marshal of time, and I respect your time. We've hit the top of the hour. Thank you so much for taking time and sharing your work and your thoughts and your wisdom with us. I really enjoyed this so important message to all of us. Thank you so much. And also, thank you everyone for joining us here tonight. All the best from Vienna.
Okay,
Thank you. Thanks, Alex. Great.
Thanks, Alex.
Bye.
Nada que ver. Esto es nada que ver. Bueno, pero yo tengo